you overwhelmed yet? This is a lot to take in. Getting good with Linux and understanding the CLI really can take years. I know I've said that before, but just want to re-emphasize. If you feel like you've got a good understanding of what we've done so far, or at least a passable understanding, you're doing really well. You just have to stick with it and go through it, and maybe go through it a couple of times and that kind of thing. So we need to talk more about the CLI and how things are organized. The editors thing was really just to wet your whistle and sort of show you the world is lurking beneath the graphical environment in Linux, because you can do so much more from the command line. This is something that I think Mac people have probably known for years, because you can do a lot in the command line on Mac because it's a similar Unix underpinning. Windows is getting that too. It's being added in PowerShell. Historically, Windows not real strong on the command line, but with the PowerShell changes, Microsoft is finally getting clued in on how powerful the command line can be for automation and repeatability and diagnostics, and really for just people that are going to move through the system quickly and understand things. So I think that it's important to have a really good sort of spatial awareness and sort of spatial understanding of how the file system is organized, how the system is organized at a file system level, what are all the files, how do we navigate that, and sort of get that representation in your head. For me, it's a lot to remember, and I sort of remember it spatially. And so, I mean, you probably from the terminology I used, you had a sort of a clue about that. It's not just rote memorization. You think about where is this file, and where is this file, and where is that file, and why is this over here, and would it be reasonable to think that this other thing is found in this place? Think of it like a large house, and you go in to the house, and slash is the root, like the forward slash. That's the beginning of the file system. You're in the front door of the house that is Linux. And so you open the front door, and then you have a bunch of different directions you can go. You can go up the stairs, you can go sort of around the stairs and down to the basement. You can go to different rooms. There's all kinds of different rooms that do different things. And so as we're going through this, as a sort of a mnemonic device, it may be useful for you to think of it spatially. So let's take a look at the file manager, and it's going to be really similar between the two systems. I've got our Red Hat system and our GNOME, our Red Hat system and our Debian system pulled up. And don't worry, our OpenSUSE system is going to get some play too, just because it's a little different, and we're using KDE. Going to cover it separately, just to make things a little more organized and a little more consistent. So we've got our two GNOME systems here, and we've got our two sets of file managers. Now we've got the two Hello World files that I made on these two systems. We got the extra A file that we just made, messing around with VI. You may have some extra files in here if you went through VimTutor, which hopefully you did. So just going to click on Home, and so this gives you kind of a picture of what you're looking at. So you can do recent and see recent files that you've opened. Maybe there's a Documents folder, but this really sort of obscures what's going on at the system level. So we could do other locations, and then we can do computer, and see there. Did you see for just a second? We do other locations and see it's slash. There's the slash. What is that slash? That is the beginning of all of everything. When you go outside of slash, it is nothingness. This is the house floating on the island in space, like in Jumanji or something. I don't know. It's fine. Other locations, we've got the slash. So we can see, well, ignore the Windows network, none of that matters. But we've got, computer, and we click computer over here, and it looks really kind of similar. The icons are a little different. We got some icons with a shortcut icon. Maybe we should view these as a list instead. So I'm going to do this. That. Okay. Going to click the icon there so that we can see. So we can see we've got bin, boot, dev, etc., home. Got an initRD and an initRD image here. We got lib64, lib64 media, mount. Well, this is looking pretty similar between these two different systems, considering that, remember from the family tree, they don't really have a common ancestor. Seems kind of similar. So you got opt, proc, root, run. This little X means you got no permissions to look in there. Run. Root is root's home directory, by the way. You might have noticed that we were at /home/Wendell, and your system's probably /home/somewhere else. Most users on the system their home directory is going to be in home automatically. Maybe home or home 2 or home 3 if you're on a really big system. But root's home directory is always just /root. And the reason it's in a different place is because sometimes your home directory is on another device, maybe a network device, and maybe that network device is messed up and then root's got to log in and fix stuff. It would probably be a good idea if root's home directory was not on that device. So that is why that is the way that that is. Got, SRV and sys, SRV and sys and temp and USR and var. So this is admittedly fairly palatial, but if you think of this spatially, these are all the different rooms that you can go to once you're in /, and it is a little bit of a maze. There's other stuff that you can do, like these rooms are for storing different kinds of files. There may be cupboards and drawers and closets and rooms within rooms as you go deeper and deeper. And so like home, everybody that has a nice house, have you noticed that they have the rooms that don't look lived in, that seem to be ornamental, and then they have other rooms that they actually live in, which are messy and maybe not like super well kept, because nobody has time for that level of housekeeping. That's just completely crazy. And so this is kind of like that. So we can see that because I created a home user here, or because I created my own user on the same thing on both of these, we can see that this looks pretty much the same. And hey, this is looking familiar. So this path, this home path, is at /home/Wendell, and this is at /home/Wendell on this system as well. And so you start to think about how the system is organized in terms of directories and folders and things like that. Hopefully you've been using a computer long enough to understand the whole files and folders and directories and stuff. So this is not seeming like super crazy. The names are a little cryptic, I'll give you that. But this is not looking like super crazy or super out there. So we've got desktop documents, downloads. Things are sort of making sense the way that they're named here. At / we were looking at etc and proc and lib and var and lib64. We'll cover all of that, but what those are and what those do doesn't really matter too much for right now. Just understand that most important individual user files, like the files you generate, your work files, are in here by and large. Things that the system uses, things like databases or other programs that are installed, and the configuration of the system is in all of those other directories. Your personal configuration, maybe the configuration for the widgets that you've got in GNOME, maybe you've got some custom GNOME widgets like we were doing earlier. By and large, most of that is stored in your home folder. And so it doesn't seem like there would be enough here, right? It's like, where is all that other stuff stored? Where is the GNOME stuff stored? So glad you asked. Let's go to the command line. So the simplest command in the world is ls. ls will show you the files in the current working directory, and pwd prints the working directory. Home Wendell, home Wendell. Hopefully the mental map just formed. It's like, yes, this is the textual representation of what we were just doing visually. I can see from pwd that I'm in /home/Wendell / we went in the house. Home is the cozy place that we went to where all of our stuff is, and it's not really the ornamental part of our house that we don't use, but looks really good for when company comes over or whatever. And because that's just for people that have palatial houses, I guess. It's like, I've got an apartment. It's never mind. So we've got our working directory. We've got our files, and we see A and Hello World there, and we see that there's some different colors here. By default, directories are blue. So that's not necessarily the same between all systems, but on these two particular systems, they're by convention. They're following that. That's not hard set. You can customize that. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do about that. And so if I want to go into downloads, I can do cd into downloads. Now, as I start to type downloads, I don't like really typing a lot, lazy, so I can type DOW and hit tab, and it will tab complete. I can do ls, I can do cd space D, and if I hit tab, nothing happens. But if I hit tab twice rapidly, see it says desktop documents download. So it's telling me that there's more than one thing that starts with a D. So I can do DO and hit tab again. And now it's W or C, so I can do DOW and hit tab a third time. And I didn't have to hit tab twice then, it automatically completes downloads. Neat, huh? Then we can do ls in here. There's nothing there. Now, if I want to go back, I can do cd dash, and that will take me back to where I was, which is sometimes useful. If we're going to work on the system, I don't know. We might, if we were going to work on the system, we might go here, and you don't need to worry about this directory. And so if I do pwd, oops, Did the wrong command. We want to do... Yep. Now cd dash is really handy. Sometimes you might be in some strange place. So here we are, varlib libvirt images. This has to do with virtualization. We're not going to worry about it. It's like, oh, I've got permission denied. I don't know what's going on here. I want to go back to where I was in my comfortable home directory because I've got no permission here to do anything as my regular user. Do cd dash. And that's going to take me back to home window. cd changes directory. ls takes a lot of commands too. I just snuck this one in. We can do ls-a or ls-l. Let's do a ls-l before we look at all that other stuff. So we do ls-l, and we're getting a lot more information now. We've got desktop documents, downloads, music, etc. We can see some stuff at the beginning. Those are permissions. Those are Unix permissions. We'll come back to that. And then we've got 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, and then we've got Wendell, and then we've got a date. Looks like the 6th of December, or no. We got the 6 December 3, and then a time. So it looks like December 3, 1852 is the time. The year is assumed, and then 6663 or 30, 666, all that. So cat hello world wc counts the number of characters. So cat will dump the file contents, and wc will count it, and I'm using the pipe command. That's shift / above enter. We're going to cover all this in a second, but it's 30 characters. So 30 is how big it is, how much space it takes up. So yeah, but lsal is also an option. Okay, if we do lsal, oh, there's more stuff here. We've got .bash history, .bash logout, and so files that begin with a dot are hidden because we don't see this in the GUI either. We've got cache config, GNU PG, .local, .mozilla, .ssh, .vim info, and so Vim remembers your preferences. Vim remembers your preferences in the .vim info file. And this is the convention that you'll see in a lot of Linux programs, is that a lot of your individual user configuration stuff that matters for you as a user, but stuff the system needs to remember, is in your home directory in files that begin with a dot or in directories that begin with a dot. By and large, you don't really have to mess around in those for day-to-day activities, but if you do need to change your configuration or add a parameter or inspect a parameter or something like that, you're going to be doing it in one of these dot directories. Now, it is possible to tell GNOME that you want to see hidden directories, and you can do that with that, and that works fine. But unlike on Windows where there's an attribute, we can just say this file is hidden and it's hidden. It doesn't really work like that on Linux file systems. The dot hides things, and that's a holdover from old school Unix. That's how things were done on old school Unix.